Right now, everyone is talking about how unstoppable the Indiana Fever look. The highlights are electric. The chemistry looks real. The energy in that building is a kind you can feel through a screen. But here's the question nobody seems to want to answer. What happens when it stops working? Because at some point it will. The regular season is a grind. Defenses adjust. Players get tired. Leads evaporate. And when that moment of truth arrives, everything is going to come down to one person. But we'll get to that. First, let's talk about what's actually happening inside this training camp, because what's unfolding is far more significant than the media is giving it credit for.
I like what I'm seeing, I do. I think she has a lot of potential. I wasn't totally loving what KK did in that set. She kind of got worked by the spin move from that practice player. And I did want to show you guys something that was going viral, and it is a one-handed pass from Caitlin over to Maisha Hines-Allen, who looks...
The Fever are sending shockwaves through the league. The narrative coming into this season was predictable. Sports media loves a simple story, and the simple story was that the Indiana Fever were going to quietly run it back, maybe improve by a few games, and keep developing their young core around their franchise superstar, manageable expectations, safe predictions, comfortable takes. What's actually happening is something completely different. From the first day of training camp, the intensity inside that facility has been operating at a level that is genuinely alarming for the rest of the WNBA. We're not talking about the polished, everyone smiling for the camera version of training camp that teams usually put on display. We're talking about a group of players pushing each other in drills, competing with ferocity that suggests they spend the entire offseason stewing over last year's shortcomings.
Wing. It's her spot. Oh, and the coveted Caitlin Clark 3-ball. If there is anything you guys want to see, please pop down in the comments. Don't hesitate to ask. That's why I put some Justine Pissott highlights in this video.
This is not a team building for the future anymore. The future is now. The Indiana Fever are hunting, and the rest of the league need to understand that before opening night arrives. When you break down the raw footage, the chemistry between players, the individual development leaps, and the competitive intensity burning through every drill, one thing becomes unmistakably clear. The talent in that locker room has reached a level that should genuinely terrify any defensive coordinator trying to build a game plan against them. And it all starts with the undeniable center of this entire operation. Caitlin Clark is playing on a different planet. Everyone already knows about the logo threes, the scoring records, the passing numbers, and the way she's shifted the conversation around women's basketball. But what's developing in this training camp is something even her biggest supporters might not have fully anticipated, a completely evolved version of her game. She's no longer just reading defenses, she's manipulating them. She's bending entire defensive systems before the ball even moves, using subtle hesitations and deceptive movement to create situations defenders simply can't handle. Her floor vision has reached a level where she's not just seeing the play, she's seeing 2 or 3 moves ahead.
3 in a row, 4 in a row, 5 in a row. Speaking of thirst traps,
a fraction of a second, she whips a high-velocity one-handed laser through a passing window so small that most point guards in this league wouldn't even see it, let alone attempt it. Hines-Allen's reaction after catching it tells you everything. She looks genuinely stunned, and she's on the same team. That play perfectly shows why defending Caitlin Clark in the pick and roll had become a mathematical nightmare with no clean solution. If you blitz her aggressively, she's already 2 steps ahead, finding the roller or weak side shooter before help defense can recover. If you play drop coverage, you're giving one of the most dangerous deep-range shooters in the game exactly the space she needs to pull up from logo distance. There's no safe option. Every defensive choice comes with consequences, and she's the one capitalizing on all of them.
didn't make that pass easy. Oh, okay.
And forces defenders into impossible closeouts. Those closeouts lead to blow-bys, which lead to defensive breakdowns, which create wide-open shots for teammates. Caitlin Clark isn't just scoring. She's reshaping the geometry of basketball itself. And she's doing it with confidence that spreads across the entire Indiana Fever roster. But here's the twist. As dominant as her story is, the most important development in this training camp might not even be about her. Justine Pat is the X factor flying under radar. In the modern WNBA, roster spots are extremely limited. Every spot carries weight, financially and strategically. Developing young talent without sacrificing a full roster slot is a smart move, and the Fever made one by placing second-round pick Justine Pat in a developmental role. On paper, second-round picks face tough odds just to make the roster, let alone contribute. But the coaching staff saw something worth investing in. At 6 feet 4 inches with a massive wingspan, she brings a defensive skill set perfectly suited to today's game. The league is shifting towards switch-heavy, perimeter-focused defenses, and players who can guard multiple positions, contest shots, and disrupt passing lanes are incredibly valuable. Pat checks all those boxes, and she does it with composure and physicality. What stands out most isn't just her athleticism, it's her intelligence. She reads plays early, switches smoothly, and times her contest perfectly. Against quicker opponents, she stays balanced, uses her length effectively, and doesn't panic. Her post defense is just as promising. Teams will try to test her strength inside, but she holds her ground with solid positioning, discipline, and control. She's not perfect yet, but the potential is obvious. If she develops a reliable perimeter shot and continues improving defensively, the Fever could have a classic 3-and-D wing off the bench, someone who can change the energy of the second unit completely. Keeping Justine Pat isn't just a feel-good story, it's a smart long-term investment. The Fever aren't just building a starting five, they are building a complete system, and she could become a key piece of it. But talent alone isn't enough, culture matters. And there's one new player already reshaping that culture, Raven Johnson. The media tried to create drama around her and Caitlin Clark, building up a rivalry narrative from their college days. It made headlines, but it wasn't reality. From the moment Raven Johnson spoke as a member of the Indiana Fever, she shut down that narrative completely. With calm confidence and positive energy, she spoke about her new teammates with genuine warmth and appreciation, singling out veterans like Kelsey Mitchell and Lexa Hull for the mentorship they've already given her. She talked about asking constant questions to understand the system and learning the nuances of professional basketball from players who have already been through the battles she's preparing to face. That level of maturity from a young player entering a new environment is impressive. Then she steps onto the court, and that warm personality disappears. In a defensive setting, Raven Johnson becomes someone opposing players do not want to deal with. She described herself perfectly, a gnat on the ball. That's exactly what she is, relentless, always in your space, disrupting rhythm, making every dribble uncomfortable. She doesn't just take defensive assignments, she hunts them. She takes pride in forcing turnovers, disrupting possessions, and giving her team extra opportunities. From a roster perspective, this solves a major issue for the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark is an elite offensive player, but she's not a lockdown defender, and she doesn't need to be. By pairing her with a relentless defender like Raven Johnson, the team can protect Clark defensively. That allows her to conserve energy, avoid foul trouble, and stay fresh on offense, where she's most dangerous. Meanwhile, Raven thrives in chaos, embracing the gritty, defensive moments that don't always show up in highlights but decide games. Her presence is already changing the energy and culture of the team, especially in the second unit. But culture isn't just built by new players, it's anchored by veterans. And that's where Kelsey Mitchell comes in. Her return to the Indiana Fever isn't just a move, it's a statement. She had options but chose loyalty and belief in the team's direction. Her connection with players like Aliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark is real, not just media talk. That kind of emotional investment matters. When players truly trust each other, the game changes. The ball moves faster, decisions come easier, and defensive rotations tighten. It creates a chemistry you can't teach. It has to be real. Lexi Hull brings another layer to that foundation. She's one of the most reliable shooters, especially from the corner. Every time she positions herself, defenders are forced into a tough decision. Leave her open or create space elsewhere. Either way, the offense benefits. Then there's Sophie Cunningham, adding more strength on the wing. When you combine multiple shooting threats with a playmaker like Caitlin Clark, the result is an offense that's extremely hard to stop over a full game. What stands out most in their offensive sets isn't just individual talent, it's teamwork. The ball moves quickly and decisively. Off-ball movement is purposeful. Screens are set to create real advantages, not just motion. And the spacing is nearly perfect. For opposing defenses, this creates a nightmare. Every possession offers multiple scoring threats. Focus too much on one player, and someone else gets an open shot. Collapse the defense, and the ball swings to an open shooter before recovery is possible. There's no perfect defensive answer to this system, and every player understands their role in making it work. And when you add pace to that equation, it becomes even more dangerous. Teams don't even get time to reset before they are forced to defend again. That constant pressure wears defenses down over time. The Fever are running actions at a tempo that wears opponents down over the course of a game. The athleticism and conditioning on display in camp suggests they have the personnel to sustain that pressure from opening tip to final buzzer. This is what real offensive synergy looks like. Not one player dominating while others watch, but 5 players creating problems for the defense at the same time. Each movement makes the others harder to guard. Right now, inside that training facility, this offense is operating at a level that should spark serious championship conversations. Everything looks locked in. The energy is real. The execution is sharp. The potential is massive. But here's the reality about potential. It only matters when things go wrong. And eventually, they always do. That brings us to the real question. Stephanie White. She has a strong coaching resume, building a defensive powerhouse in Connecticut and proving her ability to design disciplined, coordinated systems. She emphasizes pace, defensive intensity, and accountability across the roster. All of that matters. But coaching a generational offensive talent brings a different challenge, one no system can fully prepare you for. It's the biggest unanswered question for this Indiana Fever season. Basketball history is full of coaches who had great systems and talented rosters, but fell short because they couldn't step back and trust their best player in critical moments. The instinct to control the game, to call timeouts, draw up plays, and rely on structure is powerful. But the greatest players often need something different. They need trust. When the pressure peaks, when defenses disrupt every planned action, when the clock is running down, what happens then? Does the coach call a timeout and force a set play? Or does she trust her star player to create something out of nothing? Caitlin Clark is the engine of this team. She's the closer, the one capable of making impossible reads and delivering under maximum pressure. That's not in question. The real question is whether Stephanie White has the flexibility and confidence to step aside when it matters most. Managing a defensive system is one thing. Managing a generational talent is another. The best coaches understand that difference. They build systems that empower their stars, and they know when to let greatness take over. Right now, in training camp, everything feels perfect. Everyone is healthy, motivated, and playing at full intensity. But the true test doesn't come now. It comes later, during losing streaks, tough road games, and moments when doubt creeps in. That moment is coming. It always does. And when it arrives, we'll find out exactly what this team and this coach are made of. This Indiana Fever team is no longer trying to prove itself. It's already dangerous. The core is established. The depth is stronger. The new additions fill key gaps. And the offensive ceiling is incredibly high. Caitlin Clark has evolved into a complete offensive architect. Justine Pat represents smart long-term development. Raven Johnson is redefining the team's defensive identity. And veterans like Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hull provide stability when it matters most. The chemistry we're seeing suggests this team understands how to attack defenses as a unit, not just run plays. But championships aren't won in training camp. They are won when things break down, when adjustments are needed, when pressure is highest, and when the coach must decide between trusting the system or trusting the player. That balance will define Indiana's season. They have all the pieces. The real question is whether Stephanie White can be the coach this specific team needs. Think about that as the season begins, because the answer might surprise everyone. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and drop your prediction for the Fever season. What happens when the pressure gets real?